kept pushing on, but then you went too far. When your ship has sailed and all your dreams are lost, everything is wrong, you feel like it's your fault. Just remember, I will be there for you, baby. Remember, there's nothing out there to get you, don't forget it. When life feels slow, just call me. Just call me. Just call me. Just call me. You're stronger now than you ever been. You gotta leave now, it's time to catch the wind. You will climb up high and look through the clouds, and when you're feeling low, I know you'll bounce back. Oh, and just remember, I will be there for you, baby. Remember, there's nothing out there to get you, don't forget it. When life throws lemons, just call me. Just call me. Just call me. Just call me.
Hello race fans and welcome to the Darlington Raceway. We are live here for the Dynasty Racing League. I am Liam Irving, joined by Matt Metler up in the booth, and we're just getting ready here for qualifying as we see the 74 JP, James Pandolf, coming out. We've got ourselves a fantastic show here for you today as we take a look at our track info. 88 degrees right now. 39% humidity, clear skies, and not too much wind here, but the track temp sitting at 99 degrees might cause a little bit of stress on those tires. Matt, what are you thinking for Darlington here?
Hey, good evening. Glad to be up here alongside you once again in the SRM broadcast booth as we look down upon the Dynasty Racing League as they get set to do battle. Lady in Black style, like you said here, from Darlington, South Carolina, as she gets ready to dish out the Darlington stripes like Cheerios at the petting zoo. They should be aplenty by the time this one is done. It's the nighttime. It's the right time for DRL, and I'm fired up and ready to go, sir. I don't know about you.
Yeah, absolutely. Saturday night action here in these ARCA cars. Some of the toughest cars to drive, in my opinion. Of course, it is daytime in the sim, which is just going to be an added challenge for these drivers as we watch James Goodman work his way through 3 and 4, getting ready to put down his first lap. Thomas Harmon, surprise, surprise, winner last week. He sits atop the board right now. Goodman slots up into 4th. let's take a look at Harmon as he works his way coming up off of the final corner here. See if he can improve on that 30-27 coming across the line. He will not. He slowed down a little bit there and maybe had a wall contact there that invalidated his lap. Meanwhile, the 45, Brandon Brorby, working through 3 and 4 right now. Sideways there, sliding quite a bit. We'll see if he can improve on his time as you see the top 10 has now all put down lap times. So, as of right now, it sits Harmon, James, Wright, Brorby, Taylor, Butcher, Benjamin. Jumps up into the top 5 now, and now McKenzie with a strong lap takes that top 5 spot right back away with his second lap. We'll see if Taylor can improve on his second lap. The Butcher has been strong in the late running of the last couple weeks, but unable to seal the deal, looking for a stronger run here at Darlington.
Yeah, you said it best. Taylor the Butcher Benjamin, he has been strong, a force to be reckoned with as we get ready to close out these races as of recent. He decided not to go on the track in practice, but right now he currently sits 4th on the speed pylon coming in at a 30.47. As we take a look here at the 8 as he just completes a second qualifying lap, looks like he's going to be just inside the top 5 right now. To get ready to shift to that 93 machine of the Sizzler. Matt Sizzler out on the racetrack, supporting those Davey Allison colors, that Davey Allison color scheme. But he's doing a throwback to the Dodge Intrepid, like he's been all season long. And I love seeing that manufacturer out there, very reminiscent of the time period that this Twisted Sister car represents.
Yeah, it's almost it almost looks like a combination between Davey Allison and a Dave Blaney scheme. And a big fan of the Daves there, so you love to see that 93 Motor Oil sponsored car sitting in the Dodge Intrepid plus the Davey Allison colors and sponsor. It's a really good looking race cars. We look at Andrew McKenzie rather in the 06 American flag up on the front. iRacing.tv Chevy machine here going through turns 1 and 2. That Impala SS going with the later edition of the Twisted Sister, the Gen 4 race car that we got so accustomed to seeing through the 90s and 2000s.
Yeah, that's my favorite era race car, if you ask me personally. Just so much character is built into that car, and ironically, it's called the Twisted Sister because you can really manipulate the body of that race car in ways you just can't do now. Post-COT car, the car tomorrow, that kind of went away. But just so much character with these race cars. You can see him working the top side of the racetrack, and that's where 90% of the action is going to be all night long, right up against the wall there on the high side. So looking to see if Andrew McKenzie here can best his current 15th, as he sits 15th on the pylon right now.
Yeah, he's not going to be able to as the qualification has ended. Yep, I was just jumping up to that rear chase camera so we could kind of see that Twisted Sister look you were talking about. But we'll jump onto the pole sitter here of Thomas Harmon so we can kind of talk about that. You can see where the front headlights sit, how the right side seems to be a lot closer to the edge, whereas the left side, you've got a lot more angle. Trying to generate some side force there. It's not something that you see in the newer cars. Those things are very symmetrical nowadays, but as everybody gets gridded up here, we'll go ahead and show you the grid as they line up.
Yeah, so we're gonna get them. Initially racked and stacked here at this 1.36 mile oval, right here in the heart of South Carolina. That one thing that may catch drivers by surprise right now is the air temp is cool, low humidity. That track temp is sitting at 98 degrees, like you said earlier on in the broadcast. That's certainly going to make those Dr. Feelgoods go to Dr. Feelbads a little sooner than later, as tires could be one of the main storylines here tonight, is we're only going to have 5 sets throughout the course of this one.
Yeah, absolutely. Tires will be key as we work through one of the toughest tracks that NASCAR has to offer. And we'll run through your starting grid here. Thomas Harmon on the pole with a 30.26 blazing fast lap. Chris James on his outside. Then we have David Wright, Matt Sisler, Taylor the Butcher Benjamin, Brandon Brorby, Larry McKenzie Jr., JP, James Pandolf. Ninth place is James Goodman, and then Chris Vander rounds out Vanderplatz, I believe. Yeah, Vanderplatz rounds out your top 10.
Yeah, Chris Vanderplatz there in 10th. In 11th, that's going to be the 66 of Sam Niedermeyer. In 12th, the 71 of James Jacobs. 13th, the 1 of Austin Collins, who started off the season firing on all cylinders with last lap passes back-to-back in the early stages of this season. In 14th, that's going to be Richard Springer. In 15th, the 06 of Andrew McKenzie. And rounding out your 16 competitors tonight, don't forget about him, that 07 of Larry McKenzie.
Yeah, we appreciate you finishing that out, Matt, but it's going to be a while before we finish anything else. We've got ourselves a fantastic show coming up here, 146 laps at one of the toughest tracks that NASCAR has to offer, the Lady in Black, Darlington. You mentioned it in the show a little bit earlier. Darlington stripes are going to be handed out like circus peanuts, and this is not going to be easy for these drivers. These guys, that pace car makes a hard left turn a little bit sooner than I thought it would. I suppose that pit road is going to be treacherous for everybody, even the pace car. Coming out of turn number 4, though, Thomas Harmon, Chris James, 82, 68. Green flag is out in the Geico restart zone. We are underway, the first lap at Darlington. And already the inside seems to be getting a nice run there. And now the 93 moving down. Matt Sisler might have gotten into the back of the 42. These guys right up next to the wall as they go through turns 1 and 2.
That's right. And Thomas Harmon is going to lead the charge as we're on our first lap right now, currently going through the field. There was some early contact up front, but they were able to recover. Right now, in that 13th position, we're looking at, going back to the front, Thomas Harmon. He continues to carry the torch right now around this 1.36 mile oval. As you can see already, everyone is up near the tippy top of the racetrack. That's going to be the preferred line here tonight. When these tires are a little on the fresher side of things right now, you can work a little bit lower, about a half groove to a full groove down the racetrack, but you don't want to do that long, is that will wear those Goodyear Eagles out in no time, as everyone is single file right now as we currently work lap number 3.
Yeah, absolutely. We take the wide shot and see how everybody's kind of spread out so far. We know last week we ran caution free at Atlanta, which is kind of a surprise given the abrasiveness of that track. Those tires get super tricky. I tell you what, though, this track is just as abrasive, but you have less than half the room. This is going to be a lot tougher for these guys to stay up off of each other, but so far, so good as we work lap number 3 here.
Yeah, as we work lap number 3 here, Thomas Harmon has the whole field following him, playing follow the leader right now as they look like slot cars staged around the top side of the fishbowl. Thomas Harmon, the 82 of Chris James, the 42 of David Wright, and the 93 of Matt Sisler, as we're going on board with the Sizzle himself right now, currently looking out the front of his race car at the back of that Knoll Bull Chevrolet, piloted by David Wright. As you see, they transition into the corner here. That track just wants to suck you right into the wall. That's the game you're going to be playing with the Lady in Black here all night tonight. As everyone's playing nice right now early in this one, showing that respect that they have for this historic racetrack within the NASCAR circuit.
Yeah, it's playing nice right now, but as we wind on throughout the course of this race, passing is just going to get tougher. Tensions may rise, and we might see a little bit of tempers flaring as well. Right now, Thomas Harmon holds on to the race lead, but Chris James is all over his back bumper, trying to figure out a way to set him up for a pass. Actually, right now, it's about 2 car lengths of a gap as Harmon has himself a nice lap that last time around.
Yeah, Harmon had beautiful execution on that lap as Chris James was starting to apply the pressure to the rear of that race car. But again, right now, I don't think you want to force the issue here too early, as you kind of see these guys taking a different approach than what we saw from Atlanta last week. You mentioned Atlanta was very abrasive on those tires. Oh, as JP is the first one to get his whack on the Darlington stripe, as he's still riding the wall. He's going to go ahead and pull that 74 machine off. But as we as we look on the field right now, I don't think we've gone back to the caution side of things, is that green flag is going to stay out, and that 74 machine is going to crawl back up through the gearbox and come back up to speed. Out front, we're still, Thomas Harmon is showing the way, followed by the 82 of Chris James and the 42 of David Wright.
Actually, Matt Sisler able to get that pass done on David Wright. Now Wright looks back down to the inside. He saw it get a little bit sideways coming out of turn number 4. Now looking back to the inside, Sisler able to hold up on that top side. Continues to, now he's got a hefty gap here between him, and now Butcher Benjamin looking to try to find a way around that 42. Meanwhile, right behind him, Brandon Brorby and Larry McKenzie all over each other and probably likely trying to pounce on this battle up in front of them.
That's exactly right. You got to take those positions when they are available, because catching somebody and passing someone, we've said it before, are two different things, and that is definitely magnified here at the Lady in Black. So you got to seize those opportunities when they present themselves, as we're looking at the 24 of Larry McKenzie Jr. there, who is silently sitting just inside the top 10 in that 7th position. He is all over the back of that 45 of Brandon Brobey, supporting the Milwaukee Tools paint scheme on that race car.
Here comes Butcher Benjamin looking down to the inside of that 42. He had himself a shot that last time around with the 42 of David Wright, able to get himself a nice exit out of the tighter turn number 4. Now rocking the outside wall, and he gets up into it. There's another Darlington stripe for the counter, and another one behind him as McKenzie hits the wall, potentially spins. He's upside down.
Oh, my goodness. The Lady in Black was on the attack, and we got that 10 machine, that Monster Energy car of Chris Vanderplatz, who went for a wild one on the hood. That's also going to collect the Skull Bandit down there as well. We were just talking about him, that 24 machine of Larry McKenzie Jr.
Absolutely, and of course that does bring out the caution flag. We'll take a look-see here. That doesn't seem like an ideal angle, but the 24 gets up into the wall, and the 10 with absolutely nowhere to go but into the rear end of that Skull Bandit, and unfortunately that's going to take the 24 out of the race more than likely. The 10 might be able to continue on. Chris Vanderplatz seems to have a hefty amount of front end damage, but
well, yeah, he went into the back of that car like a javelin and just sent the back of that race car up into the air. So it makes, and then he gave him the finishing move as they crashed down to the inside of the racetrack right there. Well, bam, which sends him over the top, sliding on his hood. He's going to complete the rollover. And that makes sense why that 10 machine has so much damage to the front of that race car, as we're currently working the first caution of the evening. And already we have multiple cars on pit road, including Thomas Harmon, David Wright, Austin Collins, Richard Springer, James Goodman, and others.
So we've got split strategy up at the front. Obviously, Thomas Harmon, David Wright, James Goodman, Austin Collins, these guys coming in for tires early. Maybe not the 68 out of the pits very quickly here. Potentially a right side or fuel-only stop. We'll keep an eye on that. But Chris James in the DeWalt Ford is going to inherit the race lead, followed by Matt Sisler in that 93 Dodge Intrepid. And we've got the Dale Earnhardt Jr. throwback Chevy Monte Carlo, number 8 of Taylor Butcher Benjamin. Brandon Brorby in the Milwaukee Tools Chevrolet with a kind of Kyle Petty looking number.
Yeah, the
And
45.
Andrew McKenzie rounding out your top 5. Go right ahead there.
Yeah, the 45 made famous by the late, great Adam Petty, 45 that his father, Kyle Petty, carried on that legacy for a good bit of time, just like any good father would do. But as you were going back through the field, that's going to bring us to the 5th place machine, that 06 of Andrew McKenzie. He's running out the top 5 right now in 6th. He was your previous leader before that caution flag came out. That's the 68 of Thomas Harmon. In 7th, that's going to be the 42, the No Bull car of David Wright. In 8th, the 1 machine, who was number 1 in multiple races earlier on this season. That's Austin Collins. In 9th, that's going to be the 66 of Sam J. Niederhelm. And in 10th, that's going to be the 21 of Richard Springer.
And we'll keep on going. Other drivers here. JP, after getting up into the wall, you see him getting some damage repairs. Larry McKenzie Jr. after some hefty contact to the inside wall. very reminiscent of Richard Petty's barrel roll here down the back straightaway, what used to be the front straightaway at Darlington with that impact. But these guys doubled up. 13 laps will be complete this time. That pace car making the hard left turn. A couple guys trying to fix their damage, but we've still got 13 cars ready to take this restart and 2 more catching up. Chris James is going to lead them down this time as they get into the Geico restart zone, and on the gas he is. He's got about a car length lead, a phenomenal restart out of the 82. He gets out in front of Matt Sisler, Taylor Butcher Benjamin in third, Brandon Brorby under fire from that 68 for 4th place.
Wasted no time cutting it to the bottom side of the racetrack as he's going to get around the 45 machine. Excellent restart by Harmon. Continues to flex that muscle as they barrel on down the back straightaway, working into turns 3 and 4 right now. Looks like the 1 machine of Austin Collins is going to try to follow through as we move back to the front. How about that 93 machine of Matt Sisler, up 2 spots, currently residing in that 2nd place position, but he's becoming under duress right now from Taylor the Butcher Benjamin as that Oreos machine is working really good through the middle of that corner right now as they both catch a little tail slide off the corner.
Absolutely. Butcher Benjamin doing a phenomenal job in chase right now of the 93. And just to clarify, it is Taylor Butcher Benjamin. We call him the Butcher, but it's not a nickname. It's Butcher Benjamin as it's listed to me here. So just a quick clarification there. He sits in the 3rd place, and these guys have single filed out very quickly on this restart. I'm not sure if that's due to tire wear after running 12 or so laps. I figure it's a little bit early to want to take tires, but right up in front, Matt Sisler coming up off the wall. Might have got a touch loose coming up out of turn number 2.
Yeah, I was just giving the lady in black a high five, just showing her some respect, letting her know that he's there right now as they continue to, like you said, work single file around this racetrack, and they're starting to spread out. I think part of that is tire wear, and the other part of that is just respect for the competitors and respect for this racing surface. As we're going back there to the 10 machine, had repairs done to that race car. Chris Vanderplat's looking a lot more healthier than he was just a few moments ago after that incident that resulted in one of the competitors on their roof.
Absolutely. The Vanderplats consistently have fans in the chat. Autumn Jones has popped in saying, let's go, and also said, ouch, after the contact. And now Gene Coleman loves to see the 10 car up on the screen as he makes a pass up on the outside of the 22 machine. That is a pass for position for 11th as he gets around James Goodman.
Yeah, so Chris Vanderplat's back moving in the right direction. He's down 1 from where he started up in P10. But don't worry, Vanderplat's has plenty of time to recover. If you're going to make a mistake here at Darlington, we kind of said it last week at Atlanta as well, get that out of the way early. Gives you plenty of time to refocus, regroup, and get that car driving back to your liking. As right now we're looking at the 21 in the 8 machine of there of Taylor the Butcher Benjamin.
He just smacked the wall pretty good coming up off of turn number 2. Sorry to jump around on you, Matt, there, but we were looking at the battle between the 42 and 21, and now we saw the 8, Taylor Butcher Benjamin, gets up into the wall out of turn number 2. It doesn't seem to hurt him too bad, but he loses that 3rd place to Thomas Harmon. Driver we saw leading early on continues to move his way through the field.
Yeah, Thomas Harmon, like you said, led early on. He came down pit road, what we believe was a right tire stop, and a splash of fuel there as we've seen different strategies starting to unfold already on the very first caution flag of the day. But that just goes to show you the amount of time that these drivers and these teams have spent putting a proper race plan together. And right now it's all about execution, even early on in this one, as we continue to watch Thomas Harmon make his way around this 1.36 mile oval right here in prime time.
Absolutely. This 1.3 mile egg-shaped oval is treacherous as we watch Thomas Harmon try to keep Taylor Butcher Benjamin behind him. Brandon Brorby catching up to this battle, though. There's 3 cars right in front of him, and he's got to feel like he can pass them all. We're going to go ahead and jump on board in the gyro. I love this camera just because it shows you just how much banking is in these corners. It's tough to really comprehend, for me at least on TV, but when you see a camera like this, you see how slanted these turns are. It is absolutely crazy. And you see these guys, all 3 of them right in front, running slightly different lines. One on the bottom, one in the more middle. The one right up top next to the wall. There's Harmon going for second place, though, over Sisler.
Yeah, Harmon making it look easy as he's just able to get that Chevrolet Impala to just turn down to the bottom of the racetrack effortlessly as it looks. But trust me, it's a lot harder than that inside the cockpit of that race car. As he turned it down to the inside, had a great run down the straight, and he's just going to get he has the position on corner entry. The 93 is going to try to fight back on the outside of the racetrack, but Harmon just able to carry that momentum all the way through the corner and get back onto the loud pedal. And he's going to take the spot as now the 8 of Chris the Butcher Benjamin is going to try to follow Harmon right through, but the Sisler is going to shut the door on that one as the Butcher's going to have to regroup.
And Sisler gets up and touches the wall there. Butcher's going to be able to get down to the bottom, and now potentially Brorby trying to follow through. And like Matt has mentioned plenty of times, the wall is going to reach out and bite you plenty of times. I mean, some of these guys, you'll see them going up there for a little bit of a kiss, but
that just goes to show you how close these drivers are just racing right on that edge of the performance of this race car. You try to give it a little extra oomph, and you find yourself up into the wall or trying to catch it coming out of the corner. As we continue to watch here, Taylor the Butcher Benjamin, he's up 2 spots from where he started, currently residing in that final podium position right now, P3. And the Butcher continues to make time around this racetrack as we start to see these tires wearing out just a little good, or at least a little bit, as those Dr. Feelgoods start to become Dr. Feelbads. It's only going to get tougher from here right now until further green flag pit stops are underway and they get 4 fresh Goodyear Eagles on this race car. We continue to go through the field right now of Austin Collins, that one machine. He's the biggest mover of the race right now, I believe. No, I'm sorry. He's also tied with Andrew McKenzie.
Yep.
Yeah, Andrew McKenzie and Collins right now, both up 7 spots from where they started. That's some impressive performance early on in this one.
Yeah, absolutely. A great run out of Austin Collins all over the back bumper of the 45. And you see him just trying to work it as that 45 goes a little bit wide. Now Collins gets the opportunity to get down to the inside and make that pass. And yeah, it seems pretty easy, or at least it looked like that on the TV here, but definitely far from easy driving through corners at this track. And as we look through the field, we'll see James Goodman here trying to get back to the back bumper of Chris Vanderplaats.
Oh, and Goodman's going to tap the wall there going down the straightaway. We said it earlier, these corners are like a magnet and just want to suck that race car in to the top of the outside of that wall there. It's so easy to make contact. And the other thing is, too, these corners are not identical. They're a little different. So just because you have...
Very different, Matt. They're very different.
Very different. Thank you for that. So just because you may have turns 1 and 2 mastered, don't think you're going to barrel down to 3 and 4 and attack them the same way, because they are vastly different. And this is a very rhythmic racetrack. You want to get in that rhythm, but if you break your rhythm as a driver, sometimes it takes a couple laps to get that same sequence of how you attack these corners back under your belt again.
Speaking of back under your belt, that 68 car, Thomas Harvick, trying to get some more laps led under his belt as he has gotten within 0.2 of a second of the 82 Chris James, getting right up to the back bumper now, coming through turns 2. Looks down to the bottom, not quite enough speed or not enough of a run to get down to the bottom here. The 82 is going to be able to hold on for another corner, but that 68 rather is doing everything he can to set up this pass. And none other than Taylor the Butcher Benjamin, sitting in 3rd place, just getting ready to pounce in case something goes wrong, or maybe just saving a little bit of tire while these guys battle each other.
Oh, that's right, knocking on the back door. It's not delivery. It's Thomas Harmon who wants to get by that Killer Bee to Walt forward out to regain his lead out in front like he was earlier on in this one. And I couldn't agree more with you. The Butcher probably just sitting there munching on some virtual popcorn as he's watching the 68 and the 82 do battle. And you betcha if there's a mistake made as these guys are duking it out, Taylor Taylor Butcher Benjamin will pounce and make a move. But right now, he's going to let these guys right in front of them use up their stuff, as some might say, as he's got a beautiful front row seat for this battle for the lead.
Yeah, we see 3 cars under a blanket here. Unfortunately, a couple billboards getting in the way, but this is one of my favorite camera angles. You get to really see the different lines these drivers are running. You see Harmon rocking more of a bottom line. James through the middle of the corner was in the middle, and then rocks to the bottom, and then Taylor Butcher Benjamin sticking up higher just a little bit more so than these guys. Obviously, it's a super narrow track, so you can't totally use all of the car width to use a groove here, but just a couple of feet difference in these lines, and you're seeing what kind of runs are happening, or lack thereof. Maybe with the 82 trying to take the line away from the 68. Here comes the 68, though. Thomas Harmon down to the bottom, trying to take the lead coming out of turn number 4. He's going to have a nice run. Stays side by side. We'll see what happens getting down into turn number 1.
A little bit of a wiggle there off the corner. That's going to allow the 60. Allow
into the wall goes the 82. James, that's going to give Harmon the lead, and Butcher Benjamin second.
Yeah, but I just said that Taylor the Butcher Benjamin, he was waiting for a mistake and he would pounce. And unfortunately, the 82 of Chris James just has to try to throw a little more muscle there to keep Thomas Harmon at bay. And as a result, the lady in black claims another life early, dishes out a Darlington stripe as the 68 cycles back to the front. Taylor the Butcher Benjamin now resides in second as Chris James falls back to third in that 82 machine.
This is kind of a reverse of what we saw last week at Atlanta late in the race. Butcher Benjamin leading, and Harmon was able to get around him. Now Harmon holds on to the race lead. We're still quite early in this thing as we are 35 laps complete this time around, out of 146. So we've still got 111 laps to go, but tell you what, these top 2, they've been running up front throughout the course of this year. Chris James as well. Austin Collins, we mentioned, has gotten a couple of last lap passes. Brandon Brorby sitting in the top 5. He's also been mighty quick all year. And Matt Sisler, we just saw him get passed by that 45. Another super fast driver. I mean, everybody in here is incredibly fast and talented here. And now we've got ourselves a bit of traffic potentially getting into lead battle here as Butcher Benjamin looking down to the inside, getting down into 1. Harmon fights hard on the outside. Benjamin down low. Is there going to be contact? No, they get close, but the Butcher down on the bottom seems to have a better run. Who's going to be able to use up more racetrack? Sideways is the 8, gives the 68 momentum up on the top. And tell you what, Thomas Harmon, he's going to hold on to that race lead in a mighty tense moment.
That was very intense as Taylor Butcher Benjamin turned it way down the racetrack, almost into no man's land. I guarantee you Thomas Harmon took a breath when he seen that. Somehow they do not make contact. What a masterful piece of driving by that 8 machine, not to get in the 68, but he's going to reload, reset, and he is back on the prowl again, stalking the back of that Cartoon Network machine as they rumble down the backstretch.
I don't want to speak too soon, but there's a driver in that 3rd place, number 82, DeWalt machine, who's just inching back closer to these guys. We saw him racing up in the lead, got up into the wall when he was getting passed for the lead, checked up his momentum a bit, but he is closing back down on these race leaders as he ride on the bumper here and see him getting ever so closer. See those cars just get a little bit larger after every turn.
Yeah, he's back there just stalking like the Predator, if you will, just ever so slightly creeping in on these two as they battle it out for the lead. And when I say these two, I'm talking about Thomas Harmon and Taylor Butcher Benjamin. But there you go, looking off the back of that 8 machine, you can see that Killer B machine, that DeWalt Ford, creeping into the picture. That Taurus logo becomes more legible in that cam. Great camera work right now by our producer tonight, bringing you some of these excellent onboard shots as we take a high speed around this raceway.
Yeah, you saw a huge move there by the DeWalt Ford there, getting down into turn number 1. A nice outbraking move, or maybe just a nice roll. Huge gap was gained, but coming up off of the exit there, it looked like Taylor Butcher Benjamin was able to get a little bit more of a gap there as we see the gap between 1 and 2, and now 3 getting mighty close there.
Yeah, you said nice roll. Chris James kind of looking like Rick James out there, talking about the musical side of things right now. Hey, you can't have good racing without some good music. You might as well throw some Super Freak into the mix, made famous later on by Vanilla Ice in the early 90s. But nonetheless, that 82 machine is on the prowl as we start to see things die down just a little bit up front right now. Probably feeling the wear and tear on those tires as they did battle for several laps up front. Probably just both taking a break right now as we're still early into this one. Like you said, we had well over 100 laps to go as we continue to go back through the field. Looking at that 93 of the Sizzler, Matt Sizzler, he's down 2 spots, but just outside the top 5 in that 6th position.
Yeah, Sizzler's having himself a good run right now. He's kind of calmed down. Everything's calmed down for the most part. You see David Wright sitting in 7th. Mackenzie Niederhelm is sitting in 9th place. And then Chris Vanderplatz has worked his way back up into the top 10.
Yes, with a very...
rounds out your lead lap cars. Nope, Larry McKenzie is actually the first car 1 lap down. So top 10 stays on the lead lap. And we've got James Jacobs still out here.
Oh,
he's getting a couple of stripes here.
Yeah, multiple stripes as he's up there for a 3rd time. And I'm telling you, and you know this, you're a race car driver yourself, it's not as easy as getting into the wall and turning it off of it. Nope. That lady in black will suck that race car in. It takes a lot of effort to get that car detached from that wall. Once you're in it, and he is in it again in that 21 machine.
Yeah, I was going to say, speaking of Darlington stripes, you see a lot of right side damage on that number 21 machine of Richard Springer sitting in 13th place. Darlington has not been very kind to him, but let's be real, Matt. Who is Darlington kind to?
Nobody.
Not unless your name is Earnhardt.
Not unless your name is Earnhardt. But that is more, I think, on a spiritual level there with that name Earnhardt and what that last name is able to do over the course of NASCAR is some of the great history that associates with that name. But the lady in black never does me well. In fact, I would probably be behind pit road with a wall of mess of my former race car by now. This track gives me fits. These drivers out here just really showcasing their skill as you see a couple of Darlington strips being dished out along the way. And sometimes, if you're lucky enough, the lady in black almost blesses that race car after some contact has been made. And sometimes you run around here a little bit quicker.
Yes, sir. We saw the 06 there jumping in the pits. Andrew McKenzie making the pit stop. And now we watch Thomas Harmon as he holds on to the lead. Taylor Butcher Benjamin sits in 2nd place, but Chris James has not gotten too far away from his rear bumper. We've seen that leader, Thomas Harmon, be able to get away a little bit, but Chris James, he's sitting here trying to work that back bumper, trying to force potentially a mistake here. So we see on that right front suspension just how close he gets up into the wall, or to the wall on the straightaway, but let's take a look through the corners. See how close that 82 is comfortable getting up to, or how close he's comfortable to be to the wall there.
Well,
just
speaking
about
of
a foot right there, maybe 6 inches on corner entry, and now he dives it in deep, getting right up to the back, up into it that time.
Yes, 2 kisses, 2 wall taps there.
Talk about a camera angle there.
That's, I mean, that was great timing on your part and great for you viewers at home. If you're new to SRM, make sure you slap that like button, ring the bell, as we are right on the cusp of hitting 3,000 subscribers. I would love to do that, make that mark in this show tonight in prime time. So if you're new, join the family. Trust us right here at SRM as we have iRacing eSIM racing action just like this at Darlington 7 days a week. Come home to us right here at SRM.
Yeah, like Matt mentioned there, 7 days a week. We've got phenomenal action. We've got a phenomenal crew. Different crews calling every race, and well, maybe not different for every race, but, you know, we've got a bunch of guys. We've got a bunch of different disciplines of motorsports, and it's a great time. 7 days a week. We've got even some races that start at noon if you want some, maybe something to pass the time while you're at work. But
yeah, if you want that midday action, you're talking about that midday racing league, and that's right. They kick off just after noon Eastern time. So it doesn't matter what time of day. The nighttime is the right time. The afternoon's prime time. Hey, that right here,
Speaking
SRM.
of the right time, sorry to cut you off there, Matt Taylor. Butcher Benjamin coming into the pits. He's the first of our top 4 to come in.
Yeah, he wants
he's
to get,
got.
he wants to get some fresh milk for those Oreos. That's evident right now, is those tires on that race car are probably melted to a crisp. As Cliff likes to say, sloppy rubber after, all these circuits around the racetrack, speaking some of the different characters and different personalities we have here at SRM. But right now, continuing to log laps as the leader around the racetrack, just looking so good, so clean, especially over the long run. That 68 of Thomas Harmon, he is P1 and checking out, as that interval is now over a second and a half right now.
Yeah, I believe we kind of saw Thomas work with a similar strategy at Las Vegas, where he stayed out considerably longer than the 8 car did, and kind of seeing a little bit more of the same, where Taylor is able to get his pit stop done. Looks like it's done and clean, no speeding penalties or anything of the sort. So he's going to get back on the racetrack, and with those fresh tires, we talk about the gap between lap times. That's going to be about a second and a half. So every lap that Taylor Butcher Benjamin is out between Thomas Harmon pitting is going to net him about a second and a half. However, at Las Vegas, we saw that gap come back in the favor of Harmon, having 8 or so lap fresher tires. He was able to chase that 8 car back down and take the pass. And once again, last week, we even saw the 68 being a master on old tires, being able to save his tires, get the job done late. As there he is up into the wall, getting himself a Darlington stripe. Nobody is immune to the lady in black here today.
Nope, no one is immune. And you brought up a great point there. The 68 of Thomas Harmon, really his secret weapon has just been the long run strength. And as the 8 machine, as we've seen in other races, goes down pit road, just can't hang with Harmon on the long run. And as a result, that, Harmon has, depending on how this race evolves as we cycle through towards the end, could set up another situation where that 68 has fresher tires on the race car and is able to steal the torch, potentially back from the 8 again. We still have a long way to go in this one, though. But look who continues to sit in the picture just off the back bumper of that 68 machine. It's the 82 in that Killer Bee machine, piloted by Chris James.
Yeah, look at this. I mean, he's within about 3/4 of a second, and I'm not sure if that's totally to do with the wall contact, but Chris James doing a phenomenal job here on old tires. 55 laps completed on this set of tires for this driver in the 82. Remember, stayed out, took the lead on that first initial caution. We're unsure if the 68 took 2 tires or maybe just fuel only to try to stay out a little bit longer, maybe even make this a one-stop race. But we've got a long way to go here. We're approaching lap 57, just started lap 57 out of 146. Halfway is going to be about lap 78, so we're still a considerable amount of time away from that. And I don't think these guys are going to be able to stretch the fuel that long.
Yeah, that's the one thing. If you could somehow make those Dr. Feelgoods last that long, the one thing that's going to run dry is that fuel cell. Trying to get that many laps, especially at this pace, without that tank running dry. But, another point I want to bring up is the front runners in this league, in this series. They are masters of the long game. In golf, you got to have the long ball. And if you want to compete with the top performers here in the Dynasty Racing League, you better have that long game strategy, as we see these guys use it to their advantage, and they're often the ones that win these races, especially early on in the season, just like you're seeing out of the 68 of Thomas Harmon and the 82 of Chris James.
Hey, Matt, I don't want to alarm you or cause concern, but we've got a driver in third place who has shown a pretty good record of making late moves, and
yes,
he is closing in on these top 2 as well. He is running similar lap times to the 82 of Chris James, who is chasing down your race leader by about a 10th a lap. And this Austin Collins machine is sitting pretty in third place right now. Tell you what, couple of last lap passes early on in the season. Now he's sitting in third place behind two phenomenal drivers. He's sitting pretty.
Yeah,
He's right where he wants to be.
Exactly. This is where he excels in these types of situations here. I wish I had a violin and was able to do the dun it, as he's lurking, just reeling these boys in. They probably don't even know he's coming, and that is very reminiscent of Austin Collins' style, as he's up 10 positions, the biggest mover of the race, and holding that final podium position in P3 right now.
Yeah, he's sitting pretty right now, about just under 2 seconds behind the race lead. But now these guys catching up to a slower car that looks to be the 66 car. They're going to have to try to get around him pretty quick here. But look at Taylor Butcher Benjamin on faster tires right behind, making a pass on Austin Collins. He's going to try to unlap himself here as Thomas Harmon catches up to the back bumper of that 66 machine. And no fight.
Yeah, and as you said, about a second and a half a lap, you know, as the 68 stays out on those old tires, as does the 82 of Chris James. And he is able to just reel these guys back in, as he's going to get around that lap car as well. He's looking to do it the old school way at one of the oldest school tracks in NASCAR, right here at Darlington.
Well, right now, favor still sits in the 68's hand because obviously he's leading the race. But on the off chance we do get a caution, this league has been incredibly clean throughout the course of our run broadcasting it so far. It'll be interesting to see as Butcher Benjamin is trying to unlap himself. He's currently running side by side with their second place driver, Chris James, and he's going to make a pretty easy pass there on fresh tires. And look at the time gained there on the 68. Taylor Butcher Benjamin, if he unlaps himself and we get a caution, that's a moot point for the 68. He wants to keep that guy a lap down, so he at least has to take the free pass and start at the rear end of the field if we get a restart. But if Butcher Benjamin is able to complete this pass like it looks like he's going to, and he does coming up off of turn number 2, maybe not. Here comes the 68 trying to race him hard. That might give the 82 a chance to come up in the toe and get a little bit closer. Butcher Benjamin cleanly passes on the entry into 3 and 4. Now he has unlapped himself, and so it'll be interesting to see when Thomas Harmon comes in. I imagine
sometime soon now.
Yeah, it's got to be sometime soon, but these guys might be able to go the entire way on a tank of fuel. Not the entire way, but halfway. I mean, that's kind of what my thinking is that if the 68 can go to halfway and make his pit stop.
Yeah, because, I mean, essentially the 68 would be able to replicate what the 8 of Taylor the Butcher Benjamin just put on display out there on the racetrack. And, you know, being out there as long as you have, I mean, I don't see another reason why you wouldn't have been down pit road yet, unless you're trying to split the distance right now and go make this basically a one-stop race, or within this cycle, I should say. As we go currently here on board with that Killer Bees machine of that 82, piloted by Chris James. As you can see him continuously, little by little, reeling into the back bumper of that leader, 68, Thomas Harmon. Really having to get it pulled up here into the corner here as he's fighting. That car is pushing, sliding up the racetrack on those old Dr. Field goods that become Dr. Field bats. Oh! Big
sideways from both of our top two. We saw the in-car moment there out of Chris James, but James is deep on the braking there, especially up into turn number 1. You can see that 68 up in front sliding a little bit more than maybe he wants to, but that's going to happen here when he puts 66 laps on your tires. And one thing to also keep in mind is that Thomas Harmon did come in on that first caution, whether it just was to top off or maybe he took rights as well. That is something to keep in mind as to why he's able to stay out so long. However, the 82 Chris James, he was one to stay out. He took the race lead on that caution and now sits in second place. So these guys on slightly differing strategies.
Yeah, slightly different strategies, but could be on equal tires. That's something we're going to have to find out for your guys later on in this one. If indeed the 68 did take 2 tires, or if it was fuel only when Harmon did come down pit road. The other thing I want to point out is look how much negative offset these guys, at least the front runners, had in their race cars, and how much wheel they were feeding back to the left as they were going straight down the straightaways there. We're going to go on board now with Thomas Harmon. Let's see if we have a similar instance where you're turning left to go straight.
Or turning right, rather. Yeah,
Turning
you
right.
see that car, or that wheel cocked a little bit to the right here, and as he gets down up into the corner, it's not much past the center point that he turns it. He's even still got that wheel turned to the right with the way these cars are set up and the way that the offset is. Remember, we talk about these Twisted Sister cars quite a bit. They are built for aerodynamic purposes. They are not necessarily built for it to drive straight.
Right, and you can see that the proof is in the pudding, if you will, as you watch that center mark on the steering wheel, usually pointing in every direction in that race car, but straight. As they continue, though, to log laps around this racetrack.
Oh, Harmon touches the wall. That's going to give the 82 the chance to get down to the bottom. Now we've got a new race leader. That's Chris James.
Chris James punches the ticket off of the miscue of the 68, and he's going to ding himself one back to the good as Chris James goes back to the point, and Thomas Harmon, the 68, lurking very close in second as they swap positions 1-2 on the racetrack as they are deep into this run. How much longer can they possibly stay out there for?
Well, they've got to go 7 more laps if they want to try to bring this to half and half. We talked about the caution early on in this race that might have led a little bit of fuel saving. So maybe you want to go a little bit later. Here comes Chris James coming down into the pits. He takes an early entry getting into 3 to stay to the bottom. Remember, this is one of the most treacherous pit roads. Look at how far down to the inside it is compared to the racetrack. Chris James pits from the lead on lap number 72. Thomas Harmon, he's going to stay out now to lead. And Austin Collins, who has lost a little bit of time throughout this lap traffic, sits in second place, about 2.5 seconds behind your race lead. Brandon Brurby sitting in third. David Wright and Taylor Butcher Benjamin back on the lead lap, currently sits sixth, about to take that spot for fifth. He's currently on the freshest tires of the top 5, sitting at 20 seconds back. He's gaining a lot of time here. He's still consistently a second a lap faster than your race leader. And I tell you what, if Thomas Harmon plans on splitting this in 2, as Brandon Brorby is going to come into the pits this time as well, if Thomas Harmon plans on splitting this in 2, it's going to be a tough one on those tires with how fast Taylor Butcher Benjamin is able to go, especially given the length of time he's been on these tires. It's been over 20 laps.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. But more importantly, Taylor the Butcher Benjamin is looking to replicate what Thomas Harmon did that last run, per se. So now, as these guys have to come down pit road, Thomas Harmon, Austin Collins, they're going to have to pit, which should then cycle, if this stays green, that 8 machine back to the lead. Then they're going to have to replicate what Taylor Butcher Benjamin did. And if they stay under this green condition, that should evolve and come into fruition. But the one thing that changes everything and throws this strategy out the window, as we see now the 68 machine becoming under duress from the 10 of Vanderplatz and that 06 machine of Andrew McKenzie. And these guys, I believe, are on fresher tires as well right now.
Vanderplatz on the fresher tires, trying to unlap himself once here. He's a couple of laps down, but on the quicker rubber here, trying to get another lap back here. How many more times can I say here? But James Goodman sitting right in front of these guys. Around down the back straightaway. Hits the inside wall. Looks like we're going to stay green here, but James Goodman had himself a moment coming up off of turn number 2.
Yeah, Goodman had himself a moment, and that Trojan Magnum car is a little dented and creased up, especially around the front hood and fenders. That could lead to a nasty tire rub there. He's probably going to have to come down pit road and have some service done on that race car, as that 21 machine gives a little love tap to the back of Harmon, and he's going to motor on by the top side of the racetrack. Wise decision there by Harmon as he gets out of the way as he continues to turn laps. I mean, looking like he's significantly slower and underpowered compared to these race cars on the fresh Dr. Feelgoods.
Well, I tell you what, that's how you save fuel. That's how you save tires, especially at a track like this. As we watch the 06 of Andrew McKenzie, he's got himself a little bit of right side damage here, but he's trying to unlap himself once. I believe he's 2 laps down after his pit stop, trying to get one of them back.
Oh, he's back in the wall. Back in the wall goes McKenzie. As we were just basically on board talking about him there, we can see those Darlington stripes starting to add up on that driver's side, I'm sorry, the passenger side of those race cars, and that will only continue to get worse as we continue to put log laps into the history books here tonight. But Thomas Harmon, I don't know how this man is doing it. I could never even attempt to stay out at this racetrack for this many laps and keep it off the wall as this 68 machine has displayed so far. That Scooby-Doo machine, he's got the Scooby snacks because he's got the right formula right now, just doing amazing things inside that race car that I know there's no way in heck I could possibly do.
David Wright comes into pit, and like you mentioned, Thomas Harmon, there are no kids meddling with that race right now, but David Wright coming into the pits, that puts Taylor Butcher Benjamin up into third. That gap is down to 13 seconds. Benjamin obviously has one pit stop to make, and Thomas Harmon has to be coming up close to it. Remember, he came in, made a pit stop at that lap 12 caution, probably took fuel, and that's going to help him get further along in this run, but as we see the 82 getting right back to his back bumper, Chris James trying to unlap himself now. James likely will have to pit again, and Thomas may have, I don't know if he got in the wall, but he had to let off considerably there to let the 82 go by.
Yeah, and I saw a lot of flames coming out of that exhaust. I thought maybe that fuel cell had went dry on him perhaps, but does not seem to be the case. As he continues to wind that baby back up on the high side of the racetrack, he's back up to lap speed, or I should say pace speed, for as many laps on those tires as he has in the books right now. He continues to go out there and make laps as the leader, as many cars, though, have came by and unlapped themselves, or at least gotten one of their laps back. Speaking of laps back, only the top 5 right now on the racetrack are on the lead lap. So that's going to make your lead lap cars the 68 of Harmon, the 1 of Austin Collins, the 8 of Taylor Butcher Benjamin, the 93 of Matt Sisler, and the last car on the lead lap is going to be that Killer Bees Ford Fusion of Matt Sisler. As currently the 1 machine, he's called a shot to pit road. He's looking for his pit box. He's got it in sight. He's going to come on down, get that thing stopped inside the box, and that crew's going to go to work. Going to fill it back up with Sunoco racing fuel for fresh Dr. Feelgoods, and he'll be back out underway momentarily.
Now, second place, Taylor Butcher Benjamin, less than 10 seconds behind your race leader, Thomas Harmon, who has to be coming in soon. You've got to assume he's coming in soon here as he's behind the 06. He's losing track position. He's losing time. It's going to be a tough one here for that 68, but Taylor seems to have made the good call here. 68, not Mike Harmon, that's Thomas Harmon coming in this time, and he made a later entry than we've seen out of most guys, going all the way into turn number 3 before he got down to the apron here. We'll see if that helps out in terms of his in-lap time, but
yeah, he just went Jedi Master on that entry into pit road, especially with all those laps on those tires. That was just masterful on the Thomas Harmon entry to pit road. But guess what happened? We basically called this earlier on in the run, as Thomas Harmon goes 84 laps on those tires in that tank of fuel. Guess who cycled back to the point? Checkmate, the Butcher, back out in front, just like we said would happen. So now we pass the torch back to the 8, and now it's Thomas Harmon's turn to play catch up, or to play he has to basically go back through this evolution and reel the 8 machine back in now. But did he spend too much time out there on those old tires, as multiple cars were able to go by? and Taylor Butcher Benjamin cycles back to the lead in that Oreos machine.
Absolutely. And as we've seen, most of our top 10 top drivers make a pit stop here. We're going to go ahead and step aside and take a little side-by-side break. And we'll be right back with the conclusion of the Darlington race for the Dynasty Racing Pro Series.
Hey, this is Steven Cherrick. I'm the rear tire changer on the number 24 GMS Chevrolet, and you're watching Sim Racing Media.
Back live here at Darlington, and the racing has not slowed down one bit here. Taylor Butcher Benjamin holds on to the race lead. Chris James sits in second, about 8 seconds back. Matt Sisler in third, 11 seconds off of that, off of second place, and 20 seconds off the race lead. But Thomas Harmon, he's unlapped himself in comparison to Taylor Butcher Benjamin. He's going to have to run a little bit longer on his last set of tires, but the main battle so far seems to be the 68 and the 8 machine. Thomas Harmon led a lot of laps early on and stayed out much longer than anybody anticipated here, especially with that early pit stop. He was able to stay out longer, but
yeah, looking back here through the notes when we were under that side-by-side, it looks like indeed that Thomas Harmon only came down pit road to put extra fuel in that race car, and that's what made it possible for him to stay out there on the track, which seemed like for an eternity compared to the other competitors. And as you've seen, Thomas Harmon has wasted no time in just rifling his way back up through the field. But back to the point up front, Taylor the Butcher Benjamin right now currently is carrying the torch, followed by that 82 of Chris James and the 93 of Matt Sisler, currently rounding out the top three. The other storyline I want to talk about is the gaps right now. As you know, Taylor the Butcher Benjamin, he is P1. You got to go 5 seconds back, which is a lifetime in racing. Back
Let me
to
interrupt
P2.
you and say that's a shrinking 5 seconds. I'm sorry, Matt. But
It's perfectly fine. A shrinking 5 seconds.
Much shrinking as Taylor Butcher Benjamin comes into the pits this time.
Yep. So that's going to totally throw out where I was running with that logic on my part of the on my side of the spectrum here. But that's perfectly fine. So that's going to put Chris James to the lead in that 82 machine. And you're going to have to go 10 seconds back now, and that's going to be growing over Taylor the Butcher Benjamin as he is on pit road. Make
Matt
that
Sisler
15
taking that
seconds.
spot. Matt
Yep.
Sisler's got himself a little bit of right front damage, potentially a rub here as Austin Collins looks to try to take second place away from Sisler. There's that 24. 24 smacks the wall once again. That's a tough break for him. We saw him get into the wall earlier. Now this time, looks like Sisler's coming down.
Yeah, Sisler's coming down pit road. He's gonna bring it down pit road. He's gonna hit that commitment cone, get woed up to pit road speed, which is gonna feel like you're absolutely crawling as you're coming down pit road. But as we cycle back to the racetrack, guess who's back up to P3? Wasted no time on his march back through the field as these cars are coming down pit road again. Just showing you how much longer Harmon stayed out on the racetrack. The 68 of Thomas Harmon. Are you kidding me? Up to P3 already.
And I tell you what, these guys on completely differing strategies. I mean, we're seeing 20 laps of separation between pit stops. We're seeing 2 stops versus 3 stops, or rather 1 stop versus 2 stops. Or even just different timing between the 2 stops in Thomas Harmon's case. This is only possible because these drivers are incredibly clean drivers. They know these cars are tough to drive, and they race each other with massive amounts of respect. So if you're not subscribed, we're obviously going to tell you subscribe to us. We're super close to 3,000, and we'd love to be a part of the broadcast that gets the job done. If we don't get it done, we've got another show coming up a little bit later as we continue on the, it might be live now, the 24 Beers of Daytona for the Thunderclap series. But kind of to get back to where I was starting with all that, this Dynasty Racing League is insane. It is incredible racing. We've seen guys go toe-to-toe, side-by-side, not give an inch. And we've seen, you know, a caution-free race at one of the toughest tracks I've ever personally raced at. We're seeing a 1 caution race so far at the second toughest track I've personally... Well, this is probably the toughest. Atlanta's number 2. But, I mean, these guys are so clean. If you guys are looking for an ARCA Racing League on Saturday nights, Dynasty is definitely open to applications. So, if you guys like what you're seeing, you can tune in, subscribe to us so you can see it every Saturday night. Or, better yet, for these Dynasty guys, you could hit up our good friend JP and try to race with these boys on Saturday nights. And as we see Thomas Harmon sitting in 3rd place, Chris James is rocking the lead right now. But all of these drivers putting on a phenomenal show, and it's a super great league to call. It's a super great league to be a part of. And yeah, if I wasn't up here, I'd love to be down there.
Yeah, I'll second you on that. Is this league is quickly becoming the premier ARCA league under the SRM umbrella. We're so fortunate to have them partnered up with us in prime time each and every Saturday night. And to continue on what you were saying about reaching that 3,000 subscriber milestone, for some reason, if we don't hit it tonight, or the 24 Beers of Daytona doesn't reach it, guess what? You can come right back here tomorrow night and team up with us again, as we have Vast on the Sunday night primetime slot. And there are storylines all over the place with that series. So make sure you guys come back tomorrow to pick up where the mayhem left off last week. That Sunday night is going to be thunderous as we go short track racing. But before we get there, we got to finish out these last laps here tonight as we currently see the 42 machine of David Wright out on the racetrack. He started P3. He's currently residing in that 5th place position. The final car on the lead lap. That's right. Only the top 5 are on the lead lap right now, indicative of that infamous, or I shouldn't say infamous, but that pace that the 68 and Chris the Butcher Benjamin put up early on throughout the course of this one.
I tell you what, the gap between Butcher Benjamin and Thomas Harmon sits at 21 seconds. The gap between Thomas Harmon and the leader, Chris James, sits at 10 seconds. And that's closing down a little bit. Whether that's due to this lap traffic that you're seeing the 82 have to deal with, is that 21 slots up right in front of them, or whether it's the tire difference. There was about 8 laps between these two drivers in pit stops. It'll be interesting to see, though, if the 82 can make it to the end. Maybe he's hoping for a caution here. What's going to be the situation is, I believe Thomas Harmon's the only one I think can make it to the end that is on that earlier strategy. Obviously, we saw Butcher Benjamin come in. He can obviously make it to the end, but Sam Niederheim as well, or Niederhelm as well, can likely make it to the end here. But a lot of these guys still might have another pit stop coming.
Yeah, and of course, we're just speculating up here in the booth, because like you said, we have such diverse strategies on display on the racetrack right now. I know one thing. If that 68 can pull this off again here at the end of this one tonight, if I come into this series and compete at one point, I want to be on that man's team, because he's got one heck of a crew chief calling these races. He just seems to have a keen sense, a sixth sense, if you will, for how these races play out. And you said it best. Only one caution on this racetrack surface so far here tonight. Are you kidding me? It's Darlington. And one, just a true testament to the level, or the high level of driving, the driving skills on display here this Saturday night as we watch these guys compete and rage battle around this 1.36 mile oval right here at Darlington, South Carolina Speedway.
And we appreciate everybody tuning in, like we mentioned, for close to 3,000. But everybody up in the chat here, we know we mentioned Adam Jones and Gene Coleman rooting for the Vanderplatz crew. 333R says, good racing. We got Kamal Hashemi saying, let's go Sisler. James Jacobs is about to get serious. Dynasty Racing League appreciates everybody for tuning in. Little feels good, man, out of Old Dog. And let's go Brurby as we tune in, as he's got a 66 car trying to get around him. That's not for position, but guys in the chat rooting for your favorite drivers, go ahead and drop them in. We'll get them some screen time here. We try to show everybody as much as we can, and also stay tuned into what seems to be a good battle. And speaking of good battles right now, the battle for second, as the lead gap has shortened up quite a bit. The battle for second now between Austin Collins and Thomas Harmon has closed up down to a couple of car lengths here, as Harmon, on much fresher tires, gonna try to make easy work out of Austin Collins, but I can't imagine that one car is gonna go down easy.
It's not going to go down easy, but what's even more difficult and hard to fathom is how much fresher the tires are on that 68 machine compared to the one of Austin Collins. The other thing I want to bring up is these two battling right now on the racetrack. They definitely have logged some wins under their belt so far in this early season. That one of Austin Collins, he stole the first two by storm with last lap passes over the past couple weeks. That 68 has been the storyline, coming off the win last week, I believe, at Atlanta as well. So look for these two to potentially carry this battle all the way to the point as we start to wind down the closing laps in this one here tonight. But I got a full head as the 68 is able to get around that one machine. Again, that Harmon has much fresher tires on that race car. So guess what? That means he's got one more car he's got to overtake to complete the comeback, and that is that Killer B 82 machine piloted by Chris James.
Absolutely, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure we have all of the race winners in this current screen grab right now, bringing up the 68 and the 1. I believe Austin Collins took the first two, and then Thomas Harmon in the second two, I believe, winning Vegas and Atlanta. I might be wrong on that. I apologize if I am, but right now, Taylor Butcher Benjamin sits at 16 seconds behind Thomas Harmon, and the gap for the race lead right now is just over 5 seconds.
Yeah, just over 5 seconds, and look for that to dwindle in a hurry, as that 68 is just in its own zip code right now, and that's indicative, again, of the much fresher Dr. Feelgoods on that race car.
And we're approaching 30 laps to go here. We've got 32, I believe, right now, as 114 have been completed. Like we mentioned before, only one caution so far in this race, and these guys have been racing incredibly clean, incredibly respectful, and, well, it's kind of surprising to me, just because I'm not good at it, to get through a Darlington green flag pit stop without a caution. I have no idea how to pit here under green, and we have seen all 16 of these drivers do it multiple times, and not have a crash, not have a speeding penalty. There's been incredible driving out of all these guys.
I mean, even if we go to the most premier division in NASCAR, the Cup Series, I can't think of all the races that I've watched in my almost 30 years of being a spectator of the sport. Only one caution flag this deep into this one. I can't think of a time I've ever seen that, and that just trying to, showcase and highlight to you guys watching this at home what you're witnessing these competitors do on the racetrack right now. It is just incredible that we are 116 laps in the books and one caution, and like you said, through a whole pit cycle and not one caution, as they showcase that skill set over the course of this run right now. As we currently go back to Taylor Butcher Benjamin, he's currently started 5th. He's running 5th right now in that 8 machine, but he is 18 seconds, almost 19 seconds off the lead pace right now. And certainly that time is winding down as we go back to the we go back to the 1 machine of Austin Collins. He is 3.8 seconds off the lead, residing in that final podium position, P3.
Yeah, he hasn't let Thomas Harmon get too far away from him, only about 3/4 of a second. Meanwhile, the interval up front is down below 2.5 seconds. Chris James, like you mentioned, we jump back up momentarily to see him, then jump back to that battle for second as it seems to grow apart just a little bit. Thomas Harmon seems to be on rails, though, as he chases down the 82 of Chris James. We'll take a moment to ride on board with him. You see that small number 82 up in front of him, but totally differing lines as the 82 goes in wide, it tries to get down. Meanwhile, the 68 sticks down to the bottom. Are we going to see another late race pass from the 68, or a late run pass in this entire league? We've seen a lot of passes happen late in the race for the race win, and I tell you what, I'm not totally sure on the 82's fuel strategy, but I'm pretty sure that 68 is going to be able to get around him either way.
Yeah, I think you called it right there. I think this is going to be very reminiscent of last week, where we seen a late race battle brewing, and it was the game of tires, if you will, that was a big part of the catalyst that propelled Thomas Harmon to the win. And I don't think the 82 machine is going to be able to go the distance on that, what's left in that fuel cell. I could be wrong, but like you said, I believe regardless of how this plays out, as it stands right now, if we stay under this lengthy green flag condition, I believe that 68 is going to be able to get around that 82 of Chris James and potentially punch his ticket here to victory lane in Darlington, South Carolina. But hey, we still have time to go. Anything can happen. All bets right now point to the 68, but plenty of time left. Could we see a late race caution here, like we seen a few weeks ago, and change the entirety complexion of the race?
It certainly can happen, and all it takes is one mistake out of a driver on the racing surface, as you see the 68 getting ever so closer, within a second now of Chris James, your race leader here. Austin Collins doing everything he can to stick around with this battle. Taylor Butcher Benjamin 14.5 seconds back. Doesn't look like he's going to be able to get up to the front here, but Like you mentioned, a late race caution could change everything, and I got to admit, I think one of those would shake things up quite a bit here.
Oh,
As
yeah,
we
could
see
you...
the 68 getting down. He's rocking that bottom so good there, Matt. I'm sorry to interrupt you.
No, you're absolutely right, and that's a great point. He's probably the only car on the racetrack that can even attempt to rock the bottom like that 68 of Harmon. But there he goes. He's going to take it to the top side of the racetrack, try to fake out the 82, which I think he catches him off guard. And he does.
Running a little bit different line, using up a lot of car up off the corner. Got a little bit sideways there. That gave a little bit of an advantage to the 68. But now 3 and 4, that's
Look
where
at the
Thomas
drive.
Harmon is really driving through. He's got an amazing center. He's able to just keep rolling, get back to the gas within the same time frame as the car in front of him. And yeah, 1 and 2, he's running a little bit wider. He's trying to get a nice exit, nice setup on the car in front. But right now, the 82 running a little bit wider. Has himself a smoother exit. But I tell you what, this 3 and 4 is bread and butter for the 68 Thomas Harmon.
Bread and butter, and here we go. He's going to poke his nose down to the inside. They're going to be door to door as they come off of turn 4. It's going to be a drag race style shootout. Oh, look at the run the 82 gets on the high side of the racetrack. That 82 of Chris James, he's not going down without a fight. He said, I am here to win this, Thomas Harmon. You're going to have to come up here and steal this position from me. And as they're going to get ready to do it all over again, coming back to turns 3 and 4, what you said are butter for 68 in that Harmon machine.
Harmon tries the top side, trying to get a later apex and get a nicer run up off the corner. We'll see how well it works. It's a car length is the gap. 20 laps to go this time by as they cross the stripe. Chris James is holding on to a pretty lead right now, but it's not looking so pretty as the 68 moves down to the inside. He's going to try to use up all the racetrack he can. Little bit loose into the wall goes Chris James.
And into the wall goes Chris James as he was giving it everything he could to hang on to that battle with Thomas Harmon. But with that mistake and that lady in black handing out another Darlington stripe, that's also going to allow the 1 of Austin Collins to come on by. That's going to move the 82 Chris James all the way back to 3rd within the blink of an eye. The top 3 have cycled rather quickly as you move Thomas Harmon back to the lead. Mr. Where did he come from? Austin Collins up 11 spots to P2. And in the Killer Bees Ford Fusion, back to 3rd goes Chris James, just like that.
I tell you what, Austin Collins only pitted 2 laps before the 68 of Thomas Harmon. These guys both pitted on that lap 11 caution. I think that one car is going to be able to make it to the end. Has he saved enough tires? Has he been able to, do enough to work the magic he worked in the first couple of weeks against a driver who's been able to work that same magic in the last 2 weeks? I tell you what, these are 2 of the best closers we've got in this league. And now Austin Collins is realizing less than 20 to go. We've got 17 to go this time by. This is a real shot for me to win a race at Darlington.
Absolutely. And you guys have questions. We have answers. You're just going to have to hang around for these final 16 laps as we're going to crown a champion or crown a winner here tonight at Darlington. But how about this late drive out of Austin Collins? We haven't probably talked about him tonight as much as we should have, as he's continuing to apply pressure to Thomas Harmon, who has just been lights out since we started this thing and dropped the green flag.
Yeah, Harmon has been absolutely lights out. We watch on the Austin Collins machine for just a moment here as Thomas Harmon is able to continue to extend that gap here. Not many laps to go here. 17 as they cross the stripe. And that gap between 1 and 2 is gaining just ever so slightly. Chris James trying to recover from hitting the wall there. He's currently 5 seconds off the race lead, now 6. Taylor Butcher Benjamin doing everything he can with his tire strategy. He's still gaining on the race lead, but sitting just under 12 seconds back. Likely will not have the time to get the job done here. Brandon Brorby rounds out your top 5 here. He's had himself a phenomenal, kind of quiet day, actually. Had a good run, stayed in the top 5 so far, and hasn't really hit much. It's tough to do here to keep the car clean, but he's done a nice job of it so far. David Wright in the 42, not too far behind him. Then we've got Matt Sisler setting a lap down. Sam Niederhelm, James Jacobs, Richard Springer rounding out your top 10. We'll jump up to James Goodman there, sitting in 11th place. Larry McKenzie Jr., after getting upside down in this race, back on the racetrack, still 30 laps down, but gonna finish this thing. And Larry McKenzie coming up off the racetrack, just a couple laps behind Jr. Andrew McKenzie also out here in the 06 machine. He's had himself a bit of contact, but still kicking, still going. And then the last of the drivers on the racetrack is actually Andrew McKenzie there. So Chris Vanderplatz has unfortunately left the race, unable to finish, and same with our friend James Pandolf, unable to complete the distance here. But we approach 12 laps to go this time around, 13 laps to go, I believe. Thomas Harmon got himself about a 1.5-second lead here over Austin Collins.
Yeah, Harmon right now, as he quickly approaches 10 laps to go, he's going to get out of the way of that 71 machine. James Jacobs, who has much fresher tires on his race car right now, unfortunately, that 71 is going to be off the pace and mired back in 9th right now. Inside the top 10, but certainly not on the save wavelength is the 68 in that one machine of Austin Collins. As we currently see the 21 also on pit road, piloted by Richard Springer. Is he taking it to the pits, or did he retire from that race? Not sure. We'll have to pick that back up for you. But right now, all sights are set on that 68 machine of Thomas Harmon as he looks to punch the ticket for another win here. But if anyone has anything to say about that, it's going to be the one machine of Austin Collins. But he is running out of time.
Running out of time indeed. It's 1.2 seconds right now. This gap has jumped up. It's increased. It's decreased. Tell you what, with these last 10 laps looming here, Austin Collins has the best chance of stealing one away from the 68 of Thomas Harmon. But Harmon has been flawless throughout the course of this race. It's going to be tough to get up there and pass him. Like you've mentioned plenty of times, catching somebody is one thing, but passing them, that's a whole different story.
Yeah, and one guy that's difficult to pass out there on the racetrack as well is the 68 of Harmon. But one other point I want to bring up to you guys at home, they're within a small enough distance of each other, just about a second, 1.25, 1.26 seconds apart from each other, where if the 68 slips, that's going to allow Austin Collins, he's almost going to give him a breath of fresh air. It's going to reinvigorate him if he sees that 68 have a miscue in one of these corners, which can easily be done. Don't let the lady in black fool you, as we see how close Harmon gets to the wall there, and he has executed flawlessly through this one so far. But each and every corner, each and every lap around this track is treacherous. It's tumultuous. It's mentally tough and challenging on these drivers, especially as we're, well through 100 laps in this one. These tires are starting to fall off, and any mistake made by that 68 is going to allow Austin Collins to make a move and challenge for the win.
It certainly is, but that gap is currently increasing right now. We take a look at Chris James, who is now under fire from, I believe that's 22, a lap down car there.
Yeah, that's going to be the 22 of James Goodman, I believe.
Yep, Taylor Butcher Benjamin able to make the pass on Chris James there. Gets himself into 3rd place. Austin Collins still sitting in 2nd, though. 1.7 is the gap. It has gone up to 2 seconds. It's been as close as 0.6. But we get down into the last couple of laps here. We have 7 laps to go. It's going to be a tough one unless there's a mistake. There's 6 laps to go rather right now, coming to 5 more for Thomas Harmon. in the 68 Scooby-Doo machine. There is no kids meddling with that one. That mystery machine is coming strong with 5 laps to go.
Yeah, the mystery machine has went space shuttle status here tonight in the terms of speed and how fast he has been able to execute around this racetrack here in Darlington, South Carolina, as we now have just 5 laps remaining. 5 more times from the Lady in Black for Scooby-Doo in company, that Cartoon Network style paint scheme on that 68 machine, which was made famous by Ted Musgrave, I believe it was, back in the day. As we're going to go back through the field a little bit, there is the 45 machine of Brandon Broby, who's currently residing in that 5th place position. Solid run for him.
The 42 doing absolutely everything he can to steal that away from Broby. Broby's got some friends in the chat, but David Wright is trying to disappoint them with a run up off of turn number 4. He's going to go ahead and take the lead up, or the lead of those spots. He's going to go ahead and try to take 5th place away from Brandon Broby. He does successfully, and Broby trying to figure out a way to maybe get back to him. But we go back to Thomas Harmon with 3 laps to go. He's working his way through these corners 1 and 2 flawlessly, much like he has throughout the course of this whole race. 2 seconds is the gap back to Austin Collins. Taylor Butcher Benjamin has kind of equalized out around the 12 to 13 second mark. Chris James falling back a little bit, still sitting in 4th, and David Wright, we saw that pass over Brandon Broby, takes the 5th spot, and Broby sits in 6th. Those are all of the cars on the lead lap, which tends to happen here in these long races here, especially when you run caution free, as well as these guys have been running.
Yeah, and it's still hard for me to get my mind wrapped around here. What we have witnessed here tonight, only 1 caution flag, and it was a doozy as Vanderplatz sent a car over on its roof, and that's why we've seen his early exit. But here we go, coming around this Darlington 1.3 mile oval one more time. There he is, your winner here tonight. Thomas Harmon is going to continue to assert his dominance here as he wins another one. I believe this is
still on the white. This is
the
white
I'm sorry.
flag here. Thomas Harmon still got a couple more corners to go. I hate to give you a Marty Reed moment there, but Thomas Harmon, he's got himself 2 more corners to navigate. 3 seconds now is the lead over Austin Collins, and what has been a perfect race, pert near, for Thomas Harmon. He's going to come out of turn number 4 and take the checkered flag here at Darlington. Phenomenal race out of Thomas Harmon. Austin Collins finishes 2nd. Taylor Butcher Benjamin coming out of turns 3 and 4. He's going to finish 3rd. David Wright still has Brandon Broby behind him, but by a couple of seconds. That's going to be a 4th place finish for David Wright. And now here comes Broby, letting that 21 car lap down go by him. Broby will round out your top 5. And that's going to do it for a phenomenal race here. We still got interviews up, but these guys continue to put on a clinic. These guys continue to show just how good and clean racing can be here on Saturday nights on SRM. And we're going to watch Thomas Harmon burn it down. And while he does that, we're going to try to find the least opportune time for him so we can bring him up into the booth.
Yes, Thomas Harmon continues to put on the smoke show right there at the start-finish line. I believe that's going to make it 3 in a row for that 68 machine. Long run dominance. One of the main key points of the race again here tonight in prime time. Like you said, right here on SRM. I believe you're working on getting our top 3 queued up for interviews.
Yes, sir. We got Thomas Harmon in here. And Thomas, I tell you what, that didn't really come easy, but you made it look easy. Kind of walk us through your... Sorry there, go ahead.
Oh, no, go ahead, ask your question, it's fine.
I was just going to say, walk us through your race and your pit strategy, but...
Well, when I pit under that caution, I had no... thought it didn't even cross my mind that we were going to one-stop it. But then when, as we were approaching the midway point of the race, I started figuring out what we had run and what I had left. And thankfully it worked out that I was able to one-stop it after that.
And correct us if we're wrong, but this should be 3 in a row for you. Am I correct?
Yeah, that's right.
Well, a phenomenal drive there for you. I mean, talk about the the Vegas race. You come up late. Atlanta, you showed up late, and this one didn't really have a late race pass. You were pretty dominant throughout the whole thing, but
Yeah,
definitely a strong team there.
Thank you. Yeah, it helps that we got a couple guys added that helped us out during the race, and definitely point out the fuel strategy there. Yeah.
Well, Matt, I'll let you jump in here.
Yeah, Thomas Hartman, Matt Metler up here in the booth. Speaking of fuel strategy, how much did you have left in that fuel cell when you did come down to pit road? I seen a couple big pops out the tailpipes. I thought maybe at one point you did run out of gas, but it looks like you were able to maintain under power under that whole green flag cycle. But just how close were you to running out of fuel on that run there?
I was actually had half a lap left when I hit pit, and when I hit my pit stall. I was kind of pretty close.
Great execution as he comes down pit road with under a half lap remaining. So he got the good out of those tires and that fuel cell with that Sunoco 76 racing fuel inside of that race car. Thomas Harmon, congratulations on the win here tonight. Before we cut you loose, who do you want to thank on that 68 machine? Who helps you get it done?
Yeah, thanks to you guys up in the booth. James for putting on the league, and my teammates.
Well, there you go. He's on the 3-peat win streak tonight. That 68 machine, Thomas Harmon, he's your winner from Darlington, South Carolina. Congratulations, buddy. You earned it.
Thank you.
Yeah, that was our winner there, Thomas Harmon. And now we're going to get our second place driver, Austin Collins, up in here. Give it a moment here. Austin Collins, second place finisher. This is Liam and Matt up in the booth. How you doing after such a phenomenal race?
I'm hot. I forgot to turn my fan on before the race, so I'm burning up. That was a great race. It was everything you could want, fuel strategy, saving tire. And I thought I might have something for Thomas here at the end, but couldn't pull it out.
Yeah, it kind of looked like you were going to replay some of the magic you had in the first couple of weeks of the season with a late race pass. Kind of talk us through the battle you had with Thomas there, and like you said, have it a little bit more potentially.
Yeah, I was there at the end. I was trying everything I could. I was about a second behind him, and I knew I was going to catch him just running what I was. He was a bit better off before than I was. I know I burnt up my right front a little bit when we came out of pit road there. He gained a lot whenever I got stuck behind some guys that were on older tires that hadn't pit yet. So I was hoping to keep him about 3 seconds back, but he gained about a second and a half there, and he was right on me in no time. So once he did get to me, he had a lap fresher tires. That's all it comes down to, and he was able to just drive right around and take off and leave me.
Yeah, I mean, you guys seem to have a really good battle, and kind of seemed like you played the same strategy. Both you guys came in on that first and only caution and were able to kind of one-stop it. Was that your plan from the get-go, at least on that caution? Or?
Oh, yeah. If you could always, at least for me, if you can cut out a pit stop, always try to. If you don't have to save on both sides of a run, it's usually a good idea to try to cut that pit stop, because going 45 when everybody else is doing about 150 is pretty good amount of time. So yeah, once we had that caution, lap 10, I knew we could easily make it halfway. I knew it would be close from the get-go, but yeah, those 10 laps, it was a no-brainer.
Absolutely. You put on a phenomenal show, excellent pit strategy. You come away second. Who do you want to thank for such a strong performance?
I got to thank my teammates at XLR. Craig couldn't show up tonight. I know we got Dakota, who's not raced with us yet. A bunch of other guys. I had my buddy Jordan. He was in the Discord with me. My buddy Jarrett, he was in there with me. Anybody that showed up for my stream. Anybody that showed up to y'all's stream. And JP for putting on the league. And that's about it.
Well, rock on, Austin. That was a phenomenal race you put together. Second place, hoping for a little bit more. But hopefully next week we'll be talking to you once again on the podium.
Oh, yeah, that's the plan.
All right, that was Austin Collins. And now we're going to get our third place finisher, Taylor Butcher Benjamin. Let's bring him up in here. And Matt, I believe you've got Taylor.
Hey, could you go ahead and kindly take this one? I am under siege right now from my 5-year-old.
No problem at all. Taylor Butcher Benjamin, we saw you on the three-stop strategy there. It almost worked out for you, but it seemed like it kind of nullified the tire wear on that last stint. Kind of walk us through how your race went.
Yeah, it did. Just kind of wishing I did what Thomas and Austin did under the caution, because I was a little bit unaware of the whole fuel situation, and that if them pitting right there under the caution, they were able to make it on just one more. But I don't know if that would have played much of a difference or not, because knowing me, I burned my stuff, both tires and fuel, pretty fast. So either way, I'm happy with a third place. Had a lot of close calls the first 4 or 5 races of the year, and glad to finally get one. And I've had a lot of success at Bristol in the past, and that's where we're going next week. So hopefully we can keep this momentum going.
Yes, sir. I mean, you've got some good momentum. You led late in the race last week. Obviously, it didn't come together, but you come away with a third place. What's something that you're looking forward to most next week at Bristol?
Well, I mean, Bristol's kind of like Darlington in a way, where you just gotta race the racetrack and survive all the way to the finish and keep all the fenders on it and not get in too big a hurry. So it's really kind of just a battle within yourself as well as the rest of the competition.
Rock on, Taylor. You had yourself a phenomenal race here, and you were by far the best on the three-stop strategy with that third place finish. Who do you want to thank for such a strong performance here today?
I, of course, want to thank everybody at Dysfunctional Patriots, David and Richard and Chris and Dustin, although he wasn't here again. Of course, thank you guys for doing the broadcast, and as well as everybody watching. And of course, thank everybody else for keeping it such a clean race. I mean, 1 caution and 146 laps around the Lady of Black is something we can be proud of.
Absolutely. We were talking about it up in the booth there. Only 1 caution throughout this racetrack, and especially even last week going through Atlanta without a caution. This is definitely a phenomenal league. We definitely appreciate you joining us here, Taylor. We'll send you back to Dysfunctional Patriots to go celebrate your podium finish. But yeah, that was...
hopefully we can have a better result next week at Bristol, hopefully in Victory Lane. So looking forward to it.
Yeah, hopefully we talk to you next week.
Yep.
So that was Taylor Butcher Benjamin there, your third place finisher, and that rounds out our podium interviews here. So we'll go ahead and show you the results of the race here. As we see Thomas Harmon able to take the win by about 3 seconds over Austin Collins on a similar strategy. Taylor Butcher Benjamin finishing in third on a 3-stop strategy. Then we've got David Wright, Brandon Brorby, Chris James, Matt Sisler, Sam Niederhelm, James Jacobs, Richard Springer, James Goodman, Larry McKenzie Jr., Larry McKenzie, Andrew McKenzie, Chris Vanderplatz, and James Pandolf rounding out the field. Next week, we head to Bristol Motor Speedway for what should be an incredible race. We thought these last 2 weeks were some of the tougher tracks we've been to. Bristol is a whole new game on the short track, and I can't tell you how excited I am for that race here.
Yeah, certainly the last great Coliseum, Bristol Motor Speedway, is going to throw some new attitude to these front runners here at DRL. But the storyline of tonight was the long game and the long run boys of Thomas Harmon and company. But you got to be right here tuned into SRM. So if you haven't smashed the like button, ring the bell, make sure you do so right now to get alerted when these boys go back at it from Bristol next week in prime time. Another great one as we wrap it up here in the books. So we're going to say so long. See you guys later. Have a great night. Next week, we'll pick it back up in Bristol. I'm Matt Metler on the comms. My buddy on the switches, getting you all the great camera angles here tonight. Liam Irving. Have a great night. We'll see you next week. This is so long from the SRM booth. We'll see you guys all later.